As you can hear, that's the Maryland Midway, passing about a quarter mile in that direction. We're at the base of the Catoctin Mountains. So it'd be nice to learn its schedule because I've got the DJI Phantom 3 Professional Series, which is an excellent quadcopter, especially for a beginner such as myself. It took me a little bit of time to get comfortable with this quadcopter, learning how the controllers work, all the functions on the DJI Go app, which I have on my Android device. The winds are about 14 miles an hour, some pretty good gusts, so if I do take this thing up, I just want to be careful that I do not recreate the incident which I experienced yesterday. But most importantly is the ability to fly this thing in a responsible and controlled manner. I've watched plenty of videos on how to fly this thing responsibly and well enough that you're not going to lose it, you're not going to crash it, you're not going to damage anybody's property or injure anybody, most important. So first and foremost, you want to be able to understand how the device is going to handle in any situation, understand your surroundings. I've got a nice large yard. You want to make sure that you stay within certain parameters, especially those in which the FAA has allocated hobbyists to maintain a 400-foot elevation within line of sight. The ability to take amazing photographs. So much for that. The wind caught this portable solar panel that I have. It's currently plugged into my Note device, and it is giving a trickle charge. The reason why this solar panel is not charging my device at this time is because it's not at an optimal angle to capture the sun's photons. Getting back to the drone, remembering my childhood and my uncle, who was a hobbyist himself, back in the early 80s, had a small radio-controlled helicopter. It had a custom candy apple red paint job. I thought to myself, it would be amazing to be able to do that someday. And here I am, 30 years later. I have my own device that I can fly around with a radio controller, but take photographs and video in 4K resolution. The few times that I went to my grandmother's house where he had this displayed on his wall, I remember his room being a hobbyist's dream. He had a small train set down in the basement, which had small figurines set up in landscapes, but most impressively was the helicopter, which I have never seen him fly. This is what reminds me of that. I do have a few other YouTube ideas as far as capturing some aerial shots with this quadcopter. I've already posted a few that you can check out. Yesterday we were at the Point of Rocks, and it was a scare, to say the least. There was some wind gusts. I kept it down to about 250 feet above me, but when I got closer to the bridge, which I wanted to photograph and take video of as I was controlling it to get the shot of the surrounding area, it continued to drift down the river. I was losing a signal with the controller that I became very worried because it was very intermittent what I saw on the screen, losing the signal to the video feed, losing the connection to the controller altogether. To return to home, I guess at some point there was still control, but it just wasn't transmitting the signal visually to my smartphone. And then panic set in. Once it did indicate return to home, I knew I was not at the original location, which was maybe 500, 600 feet away from where I began. I knew it was recording the whole while, and I was hoping that after everything was said and done and I retrieved the quadcopter, I was going to have some great footage. I ended up walking along the tracks where I was compared to the quadcopter was about a mile. I was able to observe the surroundings by positioning the camera downward and around. It was not where I wanted to fly this thing. The wind was carrying it further and further away. I wasn't confident I was going to be able to bring it back safely, especially as the battery power was dropping further and further along the trip. At 40%, I became very concerned because I still did not have the control of the quadcopter. Upon entering the vicinity of the railway, I was then able to get a sporadic video feed on my smartphone. At that point, it prompted me to return home, and when I said yes, it asked to return to the current position, which I indicated yes. It gave an indication that the return to home had failed. For what reason, I do not know. With very sporadic and intermittent displays on my screen, most of which were in gray scale, not a live visual of where this quadcopter was. As the battery dropped 30% and gave a warning, it continued to fly above and to drift further away. About 20% battery life that I was able to walk further along the tracks to get close enough where the signal did connect. The battery power was going down to near 12%. As it was continuing to return to that last home point position, I looked up and I saw it was there above me. I hit cancel on the return to home. I gained control of the gimbal, was able to position it down to record a passing train. And at that time, I had 8% left on the battery. What a relief that I had control of this thing at that point with such little battery life. I was very fortunate that I did not lose this thing along the Potomac River. I was able to capture some exquisite video, but the worry that I experienced is going to help me understand all these conditions that may arise. In a situation such as that, one needs to be prepared in being able to control this with a loss of signal, and you need to understand that you're in a position at any time where this thing may just take off and disappear. Luckily, I got it back. I've only had it less than a week. I hope that I'm able to capture and record some impressive quality videos to share on YouTube with such a great device. I hope to share that with you. So again, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Feel free to visit my Facebook page, and I'll have links below in the description for that as well. I look forward to all your comments, questions, concerns, and I look forward to connecting with you on social media.